Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of Readings That Heal with me, Marisa of Marisa Moments, where I'm sharing divine words for the day, real life stories, and channeled messages that aim to trigger a spark of your divinity, awaken your spirit, and connect you back to your true self. Now, be warned, this is about divine accountability and self-reflection. So if you're here, it's because you're ready to work and heal. Now, let's get into it. Okay, so the message or actual word, I'd say of the week that Spirit put on my heart to share with you right now is tools, right? Tools, tools. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, what in the world, Marisa? Well, I'm going to tell you what in the world. So here's the thing. I receive a vision. It's very specific, right? And it's of a broom. Now, follow along with me because it's going to make sense in a minute. So I see a broom, right? And then I also see a lot of dust. Like on the floor specifically, right? And there's you complaining about the dust. Like that's all you can see. Man, it is so dusty in here. I wish somebody would clean up. And then right there next to you, leaning against the wall, is a broom. But you just say, man, I wish somebody would clean up. And then you go sit down and you keep looking at that dust on the floor and you keep shaking your head. Somebody really needs to clean it. Meanwhile, that broom is looking back at you like, oh, does anybody see me? You know that meme where it's like, am I not here? Can you not see me? Can you see me? Right? And you would rather focus on the complaint rather than the capabilities. Ooh, that was just a word. Let me say that again. You rather focus on the complaint than the capabilities, right? But we're talking about tools here because, of course, in this illustration, what God, Spirit, Gaia, whoever you believe in, is your truth, walk in it. What they're illustrating is the fact that you do have what you need, right? But you keep focusing in on the where you feel like you don't have the capabilities, right? You keep focusing on the deficits rather than the ability, right? And what Spirit is saying is you have it. You have it, right? When it comes down to doing a job, any type of task, right? One of the first things that you would typically do is make sure that you have the tools, right? Because at the end of the day, when you have that vision, that mission, that purpose of whatever it is that you're trying to do, you want to make sure that you have those capabilities, right? Now follow along with me and I need you to listen, right? Because what God is telling me to tell you, to share with you is the fact that you wouldn't have received that vision, that mission, that manifestation, that goal, right? If you did not have the proper tools. Now, of course, in the illustration, we're talking about tangible things, right? We're talking about easy things because that's how Spirit often communicates with me. So that way I can convey the message to you where you will understand, right? It's easy to envision that broom leaning up against the wall. It's easy to see that dust kind of piling up by the floorboards or on the floor wherever you live, right? It's easy to see that. It's easy to envision that. But what Spirit wants you to equate that to is whatever you are trying to accomplish in this here 3D realm, right? Oftentimes that we keep putting things off. We keep procrastinating on our goals because we feel like we're insufficient, right? We feel like we're overdrawn or now Spirit got me talking about bank accounts. So maybe you're struggling in finances. So let's keep it real. Let's keep it in a way where you can understand, where you can really get down to the nitty gritty of this notion and of this lesson, because we're talking about tools, right? Now let's talk about your bank account. Many of us, listen, a lot of us sit in the struggle. Let's just be honest, right? Wondering how we gonna pay this and how we gonna come up with that and all those types of things, right? And that's how we end up equating to our life. That's how we end up transferring those notions over to our life. But what Spirit wants me to talk to you about in this moment is about the ability to move forward, to get ahead. Because oftentimes we get hung up on those finances. We're like, well, I ain't got the money to do it. And so we stop right there. Even before we even hear the cost, right? Sometimes, now listen, sometimes, and you're not alone in this because I've definitely done it too, where have you ever looked at something or somebody starts to tell you about a program or whatever it is, a new outfit, a new restaurant, whatever it is. And before they can even tell you how much it costs, you like, I can't afford it. I can't. Okay, you just shut it down, right? Before you even get any information. But what God is telling you right now through me is to say, listen, you got it. And even in the instances, because we want to be real behind it, I don't want to leave you in a lurch thinking like, well, maybe you got it, but I don't, right? So I get it. I feel you. I am you, right? So the thing of it is that sometimes in those situations, we just don't have it yet. Right? We got to add that yet onto it, because otherwise we're putting ourselves in a box of deficit, of complete deficit. And we're telling ourselves in that instance that this is where my life is headed. This is all that I'm capable of doing. So now we got to sit at the Dollar Tree, even though we really want to go to Target, right? Whether you have those stores or not, we're talking about something that's smaller versus something that's larger, right? Now let's keep talking about this financial thing, right? Because that's what Spirit has on my heart, because that's a lot of things. Like I said, that's what a lot of people get hung up on. So the thing of it is that even if you cannot afford it yet, because remember, we're putting that yet on it, then what you have to do is put in some work, right? Put in some work, because more often than not, there is a free alternative out there, or there is a free alternative that is within your financial budget, right? And we're talking about finances, we're talking about bandwidth, we're talking about energetic budget, because when it comes down to finances and expenditures, it's more than just money, right? We're talking about energy, we're talking about attention, we're talking about all time, we're talking about all of it. But when it comes down to it, the main focus is those tools. Because what I want you to understand and what I need you to receive within your spirit is that you do have the tools. You do have it, whether it is a tangible way or intangible way. And what you feel like you do not have in this moment, you are capable of receiving easily, dare I say, easily, right? But sometimes we do have to put in a little bit of work. So let's just say that original illustration of the dust and the dirt on the floor. Maybe that applies, and maybe that broom isn't leaning up against the wall. Then what do we do? What do we do? Because if that, in the absence of that specific tool, then what do? We either, one, we can create a broom, right? We just get some paper towel, we get a piece of fabric, we get whatever it is, we can create our own whisk, we can do whatever it is. But guess what? Hey, guess what? At the end of the day, if you're capable of putting something together like that, then you want to know a secret? You still had the tools already. Listen, I need you to hear me. Because we get in our own way. And I'm talking about regardless of what financial status you are in, regardless of what environment you currently find yourself in, right? Now, yes, there are certain limitations to our capabilities, but at the end of the day, we are capable to where we are capable. Now, I know what what does that even mean? Because as Spirit has me saying these words, sometimes I get in my own head a little bit, and it's almost like that internal dialogue and struggle where it's like, okay, listen, that don't make no sense to me. So that's why Spirit has me conveying these messages. So when Spirit has me say that we are capable of what we are capable of in the moment, especially as it relates to our dreams and our visions, that means just take it one step at a time. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have the finances to buy the, compact centers of the world in this very instance, but that means that if it was put on our heart, that means we're capable of coming up with that funding. But if we don't take that first step, then we're never going to get there, right? If we don't take that first step, if we don't use the tools that we currently have, then we'll never expand on our toolbox. Now let's get back to the tools, right? Let's talk about that toolbox, because Spirit just had me say that word and it just resonated with me in such a way. Now let's talk about a toolbox. Now, any of you who are listening to me right here, right now, if you have a toolbox, understand that toolbox didn't have multiple tools in it when you first got it. I mean, unless you bought the kit, right? Maybe you got the kit and then in that case, you had a bunch of tools. But I'm talking about the folks who started off with a screwdriver, right? Because that's what I did. I had a screwdriver. And then I was like working on something else. And I said, oh man, I need a socket wrench. And you know what I did? I got that socket wrench. And then I started to get a little container. Now, I didn't get an actual fancy schmancy toolbox. It didn't have a handle or anything. You want to know what I did? I put in a shoebox, an old shoebox, right? One of those old school Payless cardboard shoeboxes. and I wrote on the outside with a big black permanent marker, tools, right? And you want to know what I kept doing? As I kept going along and as I kept doing things, because I'm a builder too, right? I put things together. Dare I say a carpenter, but listen, I'm not building no houses. But as I kept going along and along, and now how many do you know that if you buy something from like IKEA or wherever it is where, you know, it comes in 10,000 pieces, they give you those little Allen wrenches and all those little things. You know what I do with those? I add it to my toolbox. Because sometimes if I work on a separate project and I need that tool, I can just go into that toolbox and get what I already have. I hope you are picking up what I'm putting down, because I'm not just talking about a socket wrench. I'm not just talking about a screwdriver. I'm talking about the tools. I'm talking about the capabilities. I'm talking about having the things that you need when you need them. But more often than not, we're focused on the deficit. Instead of saying, yes, okay, maybe I do need a screwdriver that I don't currently have, but I do have the capabilities of getting one. Whether I borrow it from my neighbor or whether I go to the nearest local convenience store, whatever it is, I have the capabilities to get it, right? But instead we focus on the deficit. Instead, we focus on that dust on the ground, even though we have that broom leaning up against the wall the whole time. So this is where I ask you, this is where that application piece comes in. What aspect of your life right here, right now, are you focusing in on the deficit as opposed to having the capabilities and or the tools, right? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about tools. I really need you to reflect on this, right? Now, the only reason I'm speaking so passionately into your life right now is because you are capable. The only reason you're hearing my voice right now is because you are capable. The only reason why you're still listening to this podcast at 12 minutes exactly is because you know deep down that you have some untapped into potential, and you desire that growth, that healing, that ascension. And what you're hearing through me right now, being the channel for source right now, is that you do have it. You can go there. You can achieve it. Whatever has been put on your heart. Now, mind you, that's going to be different for everyone. And that's why I always say, take it what resonates and leave everything else. The way that you apply this to your life is going to look different than how your neighbor applies this exact same message. And yes, my voice is going out because I'm speaking passionately, y'all. I need some water. But bottom line to this bottom line is you do have the tools. You've always had them. and if you don't have them, you have the capacity to get them. It's just up to you. Are you going to sit down on that proverbial couch and complain about what needs to be done, even though the reason why you see that deficit is because perhaps, and that's a big old perhaps, actually it's a little perhaps because we both know, you are the one who's supposed to do it. We can't always lean on other people to do the things that we are divinely called to do. Now that's a whole word in itself. I hope you're picking all of this up. I hope and pray that you are going to apply this. Listen to this as many times as you need to, right? Know and understand that these words are for you to meditate on, for you to think about, for you to chew on. How many ways can we say the same things? Because you do have the tools. Now, I'm not going to keep going on and on, even though Lord knows I could, but we're at 14 minutes. And I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. So that's it. Okay. And as always, you already know if this message resonates, and when it resonates, because I know it will, that means it is in fact for you. I've already said that though, right? And if this resonates for someone else that you know is on their healing journey, let's no longer gatekeep. Let's no longer be selfish. Let's no longer fear that somebody else is going to take your claim to fame. Let's share. And also look in the archives, because I have so much content and so many messages for you to receive, right? So check out previous episodes and know and understand that there is a new episode a new word for the week in Readings That Heal, this podcast here every single Monday morning, right? And when you look me up, because I'm on all major streaming services at this point, and if I'm not there, just send me a message and I'll probably get there. Listen, I'm everywhere where you are and more. But I'm not going to keep going on and on about that. I do want to thank you for listening. And I do ask that if you vibe with me, if you feel some type of way about this word, find me all over social media, because I always like to say the only thing better than walking this healing ascension journey is to walk it with a friend. So find me and friend me. Let's walk together, friends. And that's it. So thank you again for listening. I hope you're having the best day ever. And until next time, peace and happy healing.